All right, everybody, welcome back to another video. We have a new hero, of course, with this new season. We have Ramattra, the game's newest tank hero. So just take a look real quick at him, his abilities, talk about them, and take a look at what he can do. And then I'll get you guys some gameplay where I'll talk over my thoughts on the hero and kind of what I like about him, dislike about him, all that jazz. So let's jump in and take a look at
We will have peace at any cost.
Ramattra. All right, so his abilities are very interesting. Obviously, we've talked about him a lot in different content for the past couple weeks. We know that Ramattra has two different forms. He has his regular Omnic form, and then he has his Nemesis form, which is an ability that we'll talk about here in a second. But to start, let's look at him in his regular old Omnic form. You can see he's got his staff here. This staff serves as his main weapon. And if you use his left click, you can see he shoots stuff out. This is his Void Accelerator. It deals 4.5 damage per projectile, moves 80 meters per second at a rate of 25 per second. So 25 little things per second. You have 100 ammo. You can headshot. It's most useful at close range. I think it has some decent spread on it, maybe. No, it doesn't look like it has that much spread. So, I don't know. I don't know why it's most useful at close range. It doesn't have any damage fall off, so I don't really... I think you can use it really as realistically as far as you want. Mid-range poke damage and can headshot. I think this feels pretty strong. It's a beam that can headshot. So if you have good tracking, you'll be able to melt some enemies down, I think. Which feels kind of strong. Just to, as an example, let's throw Reinhardt up here. You know, obviously he has a shield, but this does pretty decent damage as a beam that you can headshot with, and when you consider the fact that there's going to be other heroes doing damage as well, it's pretty strong. It feels pretty strong. I'm curious to see kind of how it feels in the future, but right now I think baseline it feels pretty good, and I'm kind of interested to see kind of where it goes from here. But it's an interesting one. His other ability that he has exclusive to his Omnic form is his right-click ability, which is the Void Barrier. It is a 15-second barrier with 1,000 health. I actually think it's the cooldown is 15 seconds. The barrier itself lasts for 4 seconds. 15-second cooldown. It protects teammates. You kind of place it down. You can see, like here, you can see the line. And then it'll last for 1,000 health or 4 seconds and then go away. And it's stationed wherever it's placed. So if you put it on top of like a May wall or something, it'll stay there even after the wall goes away. And of course, you know, it doesn't last forever. So it's really more of a choke crossing ability, which I think is really nice. You have a situation like this where you don't want to take damage for your team. So you put the shield down and you can kind of cross over and protect your team from some damage when you're trying to get over a choke, and then it goes away. So it doesn't last very long, but it does give you some protection. The other ability you can use when you are in your Omnic form is Ravenous Vortex. This ability, though, is usable in both your regular Omnic form and the Nemesis form, but I figured I'd mention it here anyway. It is a projectile area of effect ability. Does 15 damage per second. It has a minus 40% movement penalty. It is a 4-meter wide thing with a 9-meter high, I don't know, tube thing. Lasts 3 seconds. Does 12-second cooldown. It has to hit the ground. It can be eaten by stuff like Defense Matrix, Javelin Spin, and Kinetic Grasp. And it can be deflected by Genji's Deflect. And basically you put it down, and it'll slow things down, and they'll take damage while they're in it. That was a terrible placement of it, but you kind of get the idea. It can also knock enemies down. That's one of the big things that it has. If you have an airborne enemy, you can knock that enemy down with it. It'll pull them down. So it'll pull Pharah down if Pharah's in midair, or an Echo's in midair, or whatever. Whoever's in midair, it'll knock them down. It'll pull them down, and it'll deal damage when they're in there, and they will be slowed while they're in there, which is very interesting. I mentioned he has his Nemesis form. His Nemesis form has 2 unique abilities. So we can hop into the Nemesis form. And you can see when you're in Nemesis form, you have the ability to punch, which does damage. It also goes through barriers. You can't headshot with it, but you get more health as well. If you notice, you get 150 additional health. I believe it is specifically armor, so you get 100 50 armor, which is, gives you a little more damage reduction than regular health does. And it lasts 8 seconds with an 8-second cooldown. His punch ability, which is his primary fire, does 60 damage. One attack every 0.6 seconds, so about 10 per second. And it's 100 damage per second, which makes sense. Exclusive to Nemesis form, of course, delivers a punch, pierce enemy shields, like I said. It can travel through multiple enemies at a time, and, of course, it cannot be eaten by a defense matrix. His other ability, when he is in Nemesis form, is his block ability. His block ability is similar in a sense to Doomfist's power block, though it doesn't charge anything up. But while he has it up, it slows him down. It can only be used from the front. It's also effective against AoE abilities and AoE ultimates, so stuff like Hanzo's Dragons and Torbjorn's Molten Core. And you don't have to put it on cooldown, you just click it and you activate it. So you can kind of use it to resist some damage as you walk up close, and then you can punch something to death like so. So those are his abilities outside of his ultimate, which is Annihilation. So this is an ability that does 30 damage per second with an 11-meter radius. Lasts 3 seconds, but it will last as long, or the cooldown will pause if you are dealing damage with it. So if you use it and there's no one around you, it's not going to last very long. But if you do have enemies around you, it will stick around. You stay in the Nemesis form until the ultimate ends. There's a ring of enemy that extends around Ramattra. And like I said, if enemies are in the zone, the cooldown or the timer stops. So we'll use it here as an example. You can kind of see it. So we walk over here. They're taking damage, and they don't... and now they're gone. Timer goes down. They come back. Timer stops. They're all gone. Timer ends. So it's a very short timer, so it's very good for basically you got to win a fight. You can use it, you can kind of win a fight, but you're not going to get much value out of it once the enemy team is kind of gone, right? You can't really use it for super extended periods of time because its cooldown is so short. So he definitely has some uses with it that are very interesting. If you're in an extended team fight on a control map, for example, or on a push map, whatever, where you kind of are playing around a central area, or even like you're holding on like an A point on a hybrid map, there's definitely a lot of value there. If you are, if you're in like a 2v5 type of situation and you're the Ramattra and you're the 2, there could be some use for the ultimate there, where it's interesting to kind of see what it does. I'd be curious to see kind of how it works with the other abilities. And how people kind of use it in those types of situations. But it's also just really good just to be able to give you just this bulk AoE damage just to kind of clean up a fight or just take a fight and just get that constant damage when you really need that big fight win. I think it's a really interesting ability for that. So let's jump into some gameplay, give you my thoughts on Ramattra as a hero and where I think he fits into the game and whether or not I think he is a fun hero to play. So let's jump to that now. Alright, so I've played some games as Ramattra. Let me give you my thoughts on the hero. Overall, I think he's pretty fun. I think that's one of the most important things, obviously, when a new hero comes out. Are they a fun hero? I think Ramattra absolutely is one of the most fun heroes we've had in a while. So I think in that way, really, really cool. I think he's in an interesting place. I'm curious to kind of see, as we get more into the Overwatch League and as we see him more in like contenders and stuff in the future, the type of compositions that he's run in, because I feel like it's one of those things where if you can do damage with Ramattra, you can turn fights and turn games entirely in your favor very, very easily. I don't know exactly how much gameplay I'm going to fit into this video, but I played 2 games as Ramattra. Right now you're seeing the first game on Rialto. Woo! Happy Rialto's back. And then I played the second game on Circuit Royale. And on Circuit Royale, we were just getting clowned on, man. The other Ramattra just did way more damage, was doing a lot more. I think some of that came down to also just having... I don't think it was just Ramattra, but I was getting completely diffed in the second game. I just wasn't able to find as much value as the other one was. And while my damage mitigation was much higher, it didn't really matter because they were just destroying us in every other area. They were getting through us really, really easily. you know, it's a new hero. It's always kind of hard to tell this early on what's good, what's bad. But overall, my first impressions on Ramattra are very, very positive. I like the hero. I like the way he plays. I think he's fun. I think he's interesting. I think he's a really well-made hero. I think there's a lot of really cool things about him. There's a lot going on, and I think there's a lot to manage when you're playing him. I found myself clicking the wrong button a lot because there's just so many things there. And I think as time goes on, obviously I'll be more comfortable on Ramattra, and I'll play him more in a way that feels more kind of fluid and just definitely works a lot better. But there are a lot of times when I would go into Nemesis mode and I would click E instead of right click when I wanted to block, and instead I'd throw down the disruptor thing, or I'd click E when it was still on cooldown because I was trying to block or whatever, something like that. And that can be kind of frustrating. So I think there is a lot to do with Ramattra. There's a lot to kind of figure out as you play. But I do think, generally speaking, he's a pretty fun hero. I need to play some more games before I kind of have a full opinion about it. I think he's overtuned right now. My initial thought process is that he might be a little bit too strong, but it's a new hero, and a lot of people don't know how to play around him yet. Sometimes you'll get like someone who's played 4 games with him, and then I'm playing my second game with him, and so even that alone provides a lot more kind of disparity in terms of what you're getting. So it is always kind of tough to tell this early on, but I think he's going to be pretty strong, at least for the time being, but I think that by the time the Overwatch League comes back, we'll be in Season 3 or Season 4, so we might have another new hero by the time the Overwatch League even kicks off. Again, I think we won't. I don't think we'll be into Season 4 yet, so I think he will be the newest hero when Overwatch League kicks off, but we'll be in another season, so we should have at least had like a round of balance patches. So in that regard, I don't think we're going to see him be super meta, but it will be interesting to see how he gets played in contenders, and also high-level competitive play. Will be interesting to kind of see as well. But my overall initial kind of reaction to him is that he's fun. He's a really enjoyable hero to play. I like his kit a lot. I like what he does a lot. I think he'll be an interesting hero to kind of watch and see develop. I did play some other heroes as well. I did play a little bit of Doomfist since he got his change that you're not seeing in this gameplay. And it did not really go very well because the other team was just completely rolling us. So that'll be interesting to see. I think the thing is that I'm noticing is the way Ramattra deals damage, I think makes a hero like Doomfist really hard to play because Ramattra's primary fire is really fast and can deal a lot of damage. So I'm a little hesitant right now to say Ramattra is completely overtuned, like I said earlier, but I definitely think he just has a really good ability to stop a lot of things. And so I'm curious to kind of see what happens as we get a little bit further into this kind of season and this meta and kind of see what happens. But overall, I'm very happy with Ramattra. I think he's a cool hero, and I'm excited to see what comes after Ramattra, of course, but we'll have to wait a little bit for that. But for now, I think I'm going to go back to grinding out some Ramattra, figuring out how he plays and all that stuff. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on Ramattra if you have played him yet. Let me know how you feel about him. And of course, as always, if you enjoyed this video and would like it in the future, consider liking and subscribing. But that's going to be all from me for today. Hope you're all staying safe and staying healthy. And until next time, bye-bye.